Hey there, anime fan. Today I'm looking at the first episode of Sailor Moon Crystal, the long awaited reboot of the classic anime.
Anticipated by you, maybe.
Certainly was, but now it's here. This first episode is basically a repeat of the original anime's first episode. Ordinary middle school kid, Usagi, aka Serena, meets a mysterious cat one morning before school. She then spends the rest of the day doing her daily bull, including failing a test, hanging out at the local arcade, and getting locked out of the house by her mom for failing a test.
Not quite June Cleaver, is she?
But that's not all. Dark forces are at work in Tokyo Town, as Jadeite has dispatched one of his G.A.M.E minions to steal energy from the good people of Tokyo. And Serena's best friend Molly.
Are you only using the Japanese names when it's convenient?
Fine. Naru is caught in the crossfire, as the Dark Kingdom G.A.M.E has replaced her mother to sell life force siphoning jewelry at rock-bottom prices out of the family store. But Luna isn't about to let that fly, so she deputizes Serena as Sailor Moon, and with her magic boomerang tiara, bawling her eyes out Black Canary style, and a little well-timed assistance from a stylishly dressed vigilante, Sailor Moon saves the day, at least for now. It's hard to get a read on the series as a whole from just the first episode, but from what I understand, this new series is going to be more faithful to the original manga. Unfortunately, I haven't read that, so I can't compare the two. But I will be pointing out how Crystal is different from Sailor Moon Classic. Let's look at our main character, Sailor Moon. Maybe it's just me, but she seems dumber this time around, and she was never on AIM's recruitment list if you know what I'm saying. And that's always been the problem with Meatball Head, especially at the beginning of her arc. Now, I know what they're going for. Throughout the Dark Kingdom arc, Sailor Moon will grow in skill and confidence until she's the hero that can conquer the power of darkness. And despite her failings, her purity of heart makes her the ideal leader for the Sailor Senshi over the other girls who are all more competent in a number of ways. It's kind of like why Steve Rogers was selected for the Captain America program over other more qualified soldiers. But the problem here is that idea is never adequately articulated, which makes the storyline a little weaker than it could have been. But I won't be too hard on this episode because it's, the premiere. Now on to our leading man. Tuxedo Mask is looking like an improvement over his original anime incarnation, but he's maybe a little less subtle. He seems to have an agenda of his own, namely getting his hands on the silver crystal, rather than just being the best boyfriend ever. But he does just stroll around the streets of Tokyo in a full evening tux. Now unless he's moonlighting as a butler, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Or maybe he's a vampire or something.
A vampire in the day? Come on, Private, get your head in the game.
Oh, speaking of games, the Sailor V video game is back from the original anime. In fact, Sailor Venus is a presence throughout the first episode. She's a local costumed crime fighter, apparently. I've always found this weird about the world of Sailor Moon. Apparently, Sailor V is a crime-fighting superhero, but the Sailor Scouts never actually fight any crime. They mainly slug it out with Dark Kingdom flunkies. But the fighting is usually fairly secretive or in some out-of-the-way location. They do save the world a whole bunch, but I don't see how anyone but the most dedicated conspiracy theorist or paranormal investigator could possibly know about it. We also get a very brief cameo from Sailor Mercury right at the end. Okay, now let's look at the art style. It's pretty okay. It's more current and detailed than the original anime, but all the scouts are immediately recognizable and consistent with how they've always looked. The only real change I've seen is in the design of the Dark Kingdom home base. It looks more like a castle in a snowstorm rather than the non-specific world of darkness from the original anime. Finally, let's talk about the animation. Unfortunately, I can't tell you much about the fight scenes. There's only one, and it's so abrupt that it's practically over before it started. But we do get a full transformation sequence, and it's even longer than the original anime. And I'm not particularly fond of the 3D animation they used. Okay, now it's time to break down the good and the bad in the premiere of Sailor Moon Crystal. On the good side, the new anime is very faithful to the source material. The art style is nice, and Tuxedo Mask is more interesting and enigmatic. On the downside, Usagi is her usual ineffectual self. The fight scenes are too fast, and they're clinging to this weird mystery about the true identity of the Moon Princess. But if you're even a casual fan of Sailor Moon, you should see this episode. I give the premiere of Sailor Moon Crystal 3.5 out of 5. If you're interested in more reviews of anime, movies, TV shows, or video games, check out my channel on YouTube at StupidPrivate913, or find me on Facebook for video updates and more. Thanks for watching.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.